Hello, I'm Paddy from creativemedia.org.uk and I'm here to do another tool review. I'm going to be reviewing the Tack Life PID04A drill. Now this is quite a rare drill, certainly in the UK, and I spent a while trying to find it. I've never heard of Tack Life before. I don't know if they're any good or if it's just a pile of junk, and I have to say I haven't used it very much yet, but hopefully it will be useful. So what's in the box? We've got a manual which doesn't really have very much in it, just a few pages of stuff, and then you're on to other languages, so not much to be learnt from that. We've got a whole selection of tools here in the top, 3 spade bits, 3 general purpose bits, and 3 masonry bits, very shiny ones, and this is quite interesting, a hole saw. I thought for a while this was broken until I remembered that the thread is backwards on these kind of things. So if you spend a while trying to do this up again, remember you've got to do it up backwards. There you go. I've had a go with this and made a hole through a piece of wood and had to go from both sides with this because it's quite thick, but it worked. Now what's rare about the drill? Well, this stuff, it's got clutch control, screwdriver mode, hammer and normal drilling mode, but it's also got a wire. Most cordless drills you'll find have got all this clutch control stuff. If you set the clutch to a low setting, when the bit encounters too much resistance, more than the setting, whatever that is, it's fairly arbitrary numbers, then it will stop the actual bit turning and the motor will slip, which stops you destroying the heads of screws. I'm sure you've all had it when you're doing up a screw with a power drill and the screw stops moving but the bit keeps moving and it either chews up the screw head or chews up the screwdriver bit. And that's what I wanted particularly. I've already got a drill, this one here, two drills, a little bit excessive, but this is what really made me get it, and I couldn't find anything else that was corded that did this, apart from a few models available in the States. So that's really what made me choose this make over all the others, because there aren't any others. And I didn't really want to get a battery powered one, because once the battery's gone, you either got to try and find a new battery, or you've got to buy a whole new drill. And that's not really very green, and I'm into ecological stuff. And most of the time I'm working where there's a power socket nearby. And if you've always got to power up your equipment before you use it, you know, that 5-minute job turns into a 35-minute job because you've got to wait for the battery to charge up first. Oh, what I'm saying about these drill bits here in the lid, all very useful, but look at all this space being used up just for the sake of 9 drill bits. You could easily have kind of removed this whole section and put in some kind of lid or something, and you'd have space for all kinds of things. And also, they're a real struggle to get out, and quite a struggle to get back in again. So I don't really think much of that. If I actually succeed in doing it and make a video of it, I'm going to show you how I cut this area out and what I do with the space. Also in the box you get, this was just floating around, you get this interesting bit, which I'm guessing is for removing the swarf from the top of holes that you've already drilled. So you get that too. And a handle, which has an interesting fitting. And I noticed here, you can see in this picture, the moulding hadn't been properly filed off, so I couldn't actually fit it until I filed it off myself. Not really a problem for me because I've got a file. If you just bought a drill and you don't have a file, that could be quite annoying because you wouldn't be able to fix this tool, or you might actually damage the drill itself when trying to fit it. And the most important thing about that is if a company doesn't check that kind of thing, you know, something that's very obvious, then you know what's wrong inside this thing that people haven't noticed. So the company's not doing amazing quality control, which really panders to the Chinese factory stereotype of things not being made with as much care as maybe some other places. Also, I've seen other people say this, the fitting of this is not like most other drills I've seen, where the handles fit, like on this one, for example, it fits around here and just tightens up and is very secure. This one kind of grabs on the top, like so, in a slightly haphazard way. Have I got that right? Oh no, it's across here. So that's done up. Now, is that done up enough? Do I do it up some more? You never really know when to stop tightening. And it will hold hold the drill up fairly solidly, and I guess you're always going to be holding the handle as well whilst you're drilling. But I never really feel like it's on properly, and as you can see here, that the this doesn't really line up properly. It's off center, and this is wonky, and it doesn't look solid somehow. But it's all right. And the great thing with the handle though is the end comes off, leaving a hollow space. You could put all kinds of things in there. Put the lid back on, and you've got a useful tool store always to hand. You're not going to be losing things. You keep all kinds of things in there. Will they stay in? Generally casual use, and if you really rattle it around, it will come out. But maybe if that had been a screw-on thing, that would have been even better. You could screw that on, keep your tools in. Superb, but can't expect everything. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be keeping that handle on or not. In the manual, there's a mention with the handle of a ruler piece, which I guess is a depth gauge, which I can't find in this box, and I can't actually see anything on this handle where you'd fit a ruler either. So that could be, I don't know, it's not like it's a different model, because the manual's just for this model. The cable comes with one of these Velcro ties, rather than just being all bundled up with a cable tie. There's a Velcro tie, which is great because you can fit it around the cable and coil the cable up nicely and tie it up with that Velcro thing and use it over and over again, which is superb. In fact, aside from I think 2 plastic bags that some of the parts were in, there was hardly anything to throw away. I think it was just those 2 plastic bags. I'm not going to throw away the manual, of course, am I? I'm going to keep that. Oh yes. So for eco-ness, for the amount of stuff you had to throw away with the box, not bad. I mean, I got just the box on its own. It didn't come in a cardboard box with polystyrene or anything, so that's good. Okay, the chuck opens up nice and wide, 13mm, so you can fit all kinds of things in that. It's got 20 different torque settings. A screwing mode, of course, for this. It's got a screwdriver mode. It's got a drilling mode and a hammer mode. I'm going to try the hammer mode for the first time today on video. It's got 2 speed settings, 1 and 2. So this is for doing up screws mainly, and this is for drilling. It's got on the bottom here a little LED, superb idea, which lights up every time you pull the trigger. I'd like one that you could switch on and switch off permanently. That would be a lot more useful for me, because you don't only want to be able to see when you're actually drilling, you'd like to be able to see before you start drilling, so you can see where to drill, which is something that would be a lot more useful. I guess it would mean one more switch, but it's not a lot of cost extra. I paid £61.50 for this drill, and I figure an equivalent cordless drill would be well over £100 and have the disadvantages and the advantages as well, of course, of batteries. Has a forward and back switch, so you can go forwards and go backwards. Great for screwing, also great for getting the drill out of things sometimes when you get stuck. It's got a stay on button. Can you stay on? No, it looks like some of these you can get it to stay on at sort of half speed. This one looks like you can only get it to stay on at full. It's also got a speed control here, which is basically just prevents the the speed lever from going in as far, so very low tech, but these seem to be quite standard on drills. That's useful. So you can set this knob to the slowest speed and then use the stay on button to keep it running on the slower speed, so that's useful a bit. The chuck locks nicely. Some drills I've used, you've got to use two hands to stop the chuck turning whilst you tighten or loosen the chuck, the width dual control. But this is nice because it just sticks, so you can do things up kind of with one hand. I mean, you've obviously got to hold the drill as well, but that I think is a sign of a good chuck. Maybe all modern drills have that, but my previous drill, if you did that, it would carry on turning. You'd have to sort of hold the other part of it. These intriguing screw bits here are where the brushes are, so it's not a brushless drill, but if you need to change the brushes, you just undo those. A spring comes out with a, I guess, graphite brush on the end. When I say brush, it's really a chunk of graphite, but they brush against the rotating part of the motor, hence the name brushes. And those will wear down eventually, but they're very easy to replace on this. There are screws to get in if you do need to take it apart. I've not tried this yet, I don't really want to risk it, but it doesn't look too difficult. And lastly, I think spirit levels, so useful. So the one on the top means you can make sure you've got a level hole, and the one on the bottom means you can get a vertical hole. I tried this out earlier and managed to get, yeah, quite a straight hole. In fact, I think it's in this. So I drilled down from above using the spirit level to make sure I was vertical, and I measured this distance on the top and this distance on the bottom, and it was the same. And I'm pretty wonky when it comes to doing work, so to get a properly vertical hole that measures up correctly is a bit of a win for me. So I think I'll find this drill very useful for that kind of thing. So let's see it in action and hear it in action as well. It's not a quiet drill. Okay, so first I'm going to try a screw test. I'm going to pit this new drill, the Tack Life one, against my old Black & Decker, which is more powerful than this one, but it doesn't have the clutch control, and that's really the reason I wanted this one, to be able to do up screws. But something with hammer as well was something useful. So these screws here, I've just banged them into the wood a little bit, just to give them something to grip on. And I'll see how this one gets on with doing them up. Before I do any screwing, another interesting thing about this drill, this one here, you pull the lever, it turns straight away. This one here, it sort of starts from a stop and then gradually speeds up, so it kind of accelerates. So it's a very different feel. It feels almost like driving a different kind of car. It's quite odd to get used to, but quite useful, particularly for doing up screws, because the bit always starts at a slow speed and speeds up, which is kind of what you want really. Whereas this one just kind of goes full speed and then stops. Another interesting thing about this one, this drill, you kind of, a bit of air kind of blows out of, try that again. Air blows kind of down from it as you use it, and you don't really notice that when you're drilling. But this one, there's kind of breeze just everywhere. It seems to go upwards. If I put it on the fast speed, I think I can use it as a hairdryer. Yeah. Top speed. Yeah, that would make a very effective hairdryer on the top speed. And you can hear it is very loud. I think compared to this one, I'll run this one up at full speed, see how loud it is. Whoa! This one, I think, blows out as much air, but it blows it down. I don't seem to notice it, but this one's blowing it everywhere. And if you're drilling, particularly in a dusty place, with metal dust around, you'd really want to wear goggles because it could be blowing it up into your face and into your mouth and everywhere, into your lungs. So bear that in mind. The amount of breeze this blows around, it's really significant. Okay, so let's see if this one really has advantages over this one for drilling, not for drilling, for screwing. So I've got to be a bit careful here. Whoop, there you go, it's slipping already. It's gone wonky. That's really not very practical at the moment. It's a real pain. No, got stuck. So the head is slipping, and the head has been damaged, and I can't really do it up anymore. This is quite a challenge, really, for any drill. These haven't had any pilot holes drilled; they're just banged in a few millimeters. Let's see if this drill can do any better. So I'm going to put it into screwing mode. I'm going to do it at a fairly low torque to start with. Put it on the slow speed. And I'm going to set this control fairly slow as well, so I don't get carried away. You see the light lighting up there? Yes, you can. Okay, let's try this. I even use my spirit level on the top to get it straight. So you can see that gentle, slow start is making it a lot easier to start with. So that's the clutch giving way. So it hasn't damaged the head at all. That's just the clutch. I'll turn this up a little bit and get that wire out of the way. Okay, clutch going again there. Turn up a bit more. Oops. I just haven't done up the chuck well enough there now. Okay. Okay, a little bit more. No. Eventually I've damaged the head of both of these screws. These are second-hand screws, which are fairly cheap and nasty ones, and they already had some damage. But I'd say, if you look at those two screws, this was done by the Tack Life one. It's certainly gone in straighter. This one's gone in quite wonky, and you saw how much difficulty I had at the start, and actually stabbed myself in the knee with the drill bit, which was part of it, jumping and the amount of pressure I was putting on it. So I would say, even in this failed test, that the Tack Life does win against this more powerful drill. This one here, which is a kind of mid-range Black & Decker, got a metal chuck, that's a big advantage. But otherwise they're quite similar, apart from this one being a bit more powerful. Let us try a drilling task. Let's see what happens. Phew. Well, this one still works anyway. Yep, I've got a hole right through the brick. Okay, hammer mode on. Clutch settings shouldn't matter. And let's try a second hole. I would say that Tack Life did a better job there. And it's not a fully fair test because I don't know for sure if the hammer mode is working properly on this one, but I felt like I got a straighter hole and there's just less wobbling around and stuff. And for all that I was saying about the amount of wind that this thing blows out, the pile of dust on top of the brick did sort of stay put, so I wasn't getting clouds of dust blowing everywhere, and it wasn't necessarily sucking lots of dust through itself either, which is going to pretty soon wreck the motor inside here if it's sucking in lots of dust and grime. So I would say, on a very short acquaintance, I really would recommend this drill. It's got all the features I want, and as long as it carries on working, it's probably going to be kind of my second drill, or the drill I take out to do DIY work around and about, because it's just more compact than this one, and it's just got the extra features, pretty much like a cordless drill, but with a cord. It feels a bit smaller like that. So yeah, give it a go, and if this turns out to be junk, I'll make another video and let you know. Thanks for watching, and happy drilling!